The knock came at exactly 11 p.m. I knew because I had been staring at the glowing clock on my nightstand, trying to convince myself to stop working and finally get some sleep. Rain tapped steadily against the apartment windows, and the distant rumble of thunder made the old building creak in familiar ways. Then came 3 soft knocks. "Come in," I called. The door opened just a few inches, and my roommate, Emma, stood there wearing an oversized grey hoodie, her hair still damp from a shower. She looked nothing like the confident woman who joked through every awkward situation and filled the apartment with music every Saturday morning. Her eyes were red. "I don't want to be alone tonight," she whispered. For a second, I wondered if I had misunderstood. She quickly added, "I'm not asking for anything weird. I don't want to be by myself." I closed my laptop without another thought. "Come in." She stepped inside, clutching a mug of untouched tea with both hands. "I got a phone call an hour ago," she said quietly, sitting on the edge of the chair near my desk. "Today is the 5th anniversary of my mom's death." The room became painfully silent. I had lived with Emma for almost a year, yet she had never mentioned her mother. "I always pretend I'm okay," she admitted with a shaky laugh. "I tell everyone I'm strong because that's easier than explaining why one date on the calendar makes me feel like I'm drowning." Outside, rain crashed harder against the windows. "I'm sorry," I said softly. She shrugged. "People always say that. But grief doesn't disappear because someone feels sorry." She looked down at the untouched tea. "I just didn't want to sit in my room listening to the rain." I nodded. "Then you don't have to." For several minutes, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was peaceful. Eventually, I grabbed an old deck of cards from my bookshelf. "You know how to play rummy?" Emma smiled faintly. "My grandfather taught me." We played 3 games. She won all 3. For the first time that night, she laughed, a real laugh that filled the room instead of echoing with sadness. "You let me win." "I absolutely did not." "You definitely did." "I simply underestimated your card-playing talents." She rolled her eyes. "Liar." The storm outside slowly began to fade. Emma stared toward the window. "When Mom was alive," she said, "she used to tell me storms never lasted forever. She'd make hot chocolate and we'd sit by the window counting seconds between lightning and thunder." I stood up. "Wait here." 5 minutes later, I returned carrying 2 mugs of homemade hot chocolate topped with marshmallows. Her eyes widened. "You had marshmallows." "I prepare for emergencies." She laughed again. "What kind of emergency requires marshmallows?" "This one." She accepted the mug with trembling hands. The warm chocolate filled the room with the smell of cocoa and vanilla. She took one sip before tears quietly rolled down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't apologize." "I'm crying over hot chocolate." "No," I answered gently. "You're crying because someone remembered you needed comfort." She covered her face for a moment before taking a slow breath. "You know," she said, "everyone kept telling me I needed to move on. I don't think that's how love works." She looked at me. "I think we just learned to carry it differently." The words hung in the room. Neither of us tried to fill the silence afterward. Instead, we watched the rain become a gentle drizzle. Midnight came and went. The apartment no longer felt cold. Emma smiled softly. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not trying to fix me." I smiled back. "I don't think broken people need fixing." She shook her head. "I wasn't broken tonight." "No. You were just lonely." She nodded. "And loneliness feels a lot smaller when someone simply stays." She eventually stood to leave, pausing at the doorway. "I think I'll be okay now." "I'm glad." She hesitated before saying, "You're a really good roommate." I chuckled. "You only say that because I keep emergency marshmallows." She laughed one last time before disappearing into the hallway. As her bedroom door quietly closed, I realized something important. Sometimes the greatest act of kindness isn't offering advice, solving problems, or finding perfect words. Sometimes love, in its simplest form, is answering an 11 p.m. knock on the door and making sure another human being doesn't have to face the darkest night alone.